It was so over, and then we were so back. The story of the Laval Rocket win against the Rochester Americans. Plus, should the Canadiens try to get Nazem Kadri?
You're Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Canadiens. We want to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day every day. As you know, we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you get your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. My name is Laura Saba, also known as the Active Stick, and I'm joined, as always, by the wonderful Ian Boisvert, also known as Maybe It's Ian. And Ian, an exciting game the Laval Rocket played this evening.
Yeah, it was, as you joked, it was so over for a moment. And then they were all the way back in very exciting fashion. It's very fun rooting for this team.
I love how you said I joked that when I stole the joke from you.
That's all right. We share. It's fine.
We're a team.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, go on. It was a little bit, I think it got a little bit stressful when as the game went on and there was only one goal on the board. We should start with the fact that they scored so quickly into the game.
Yeah, 15 seconds in. I think most people thought it was David Reinbacher off the shot from not even the point, just like the half wall. But it was Luke Tuck tipping it in front of the net. Reinbacher created a ton of offense in this game just by getting the puck to the net.
Yeah.
Which is a talent in and of itself, just being able to find lanes to get the puck to the net. There was the Tuck goal. There was the Waugh goal where he gets it to the front of the net, creates havoc, and he taps in a rebound. And then Florian Xhekaj had an empty net late in the third on a play where Reinbacher threw it to the net and it bounced off of Devin Levi right to Florian Xhekaj. I think that this guy's, if I want to see more of this from him, because I think he's very good at getting that shot to the net. And if that's the case, his offensive ceiling is probably a bit higher than we thought when he was first drafted.
I mean, he's certainly not somebody you would associate with the idea of being an offensive defenseman, right? Like he's going to be the guy that shuts people down. He's going to be the guy that is a huge pain in the butt for every offensively gifted forward the Canadiens face going forward, right? Like he's really just going to be really annoying for them. He's going to be stifling them, choking their offense. But this was a really exciting and interesting development. And we do want to talk a little bit about the offensive drivers on the Rocket, particularly as it pertains to next year. But let's continue on with the story of this game. Goaltending was once again mentioned, or warrants a mention. How about that? Goaltending warrants a mention in today's episode.
Yeah, I think fans and to some extent the media that covers the Laval Rocket have kind of created this goaltending controversy in a way, which in reality what it should be is the Laval Rocket have two very good goaltenders, but it should not be a surprise to anybody that Cayden Primeau is the starter on this team. Yes, Fowler has been great, but 32 out of 33 in this one. It was kind of, I don't know, looking at that number, it's kind of misleading to me because it felt like a lot of the shots were coming from the outside. Devin Levi looked like the far busier goaltender.
Yes.
Because I think they were just making him work more. It was a lot of quiet saves from Primeau, not a lot of rebounds. They were crashing the net hard too. He got bumped a few times and knocked over. But I don't see a goaltending controversy here. This is Primeau's net, as far as I'm concerned. I know they were going like what the Bruins used to do, where they just go 1-1 for a while. I don't think you can do that anymore. I think this is Primeau's net after Fowler, in game 2, giving up a bunch of goals. Primeau just giving up the one. I think it's his net.
I mean, I think so too, but there's no telling what Pascal Vincent will do because he's the one that started it, and then he was the one that said there's no goaltending controversy here in Laval. So, I don't know what he's going to do, but let me just let's talk about tonight's game. Like as I watched that game and as I watched Primeau in that game, to me, when I looked at that, I thought, yes, this is classic Laval Rocket Primeau. Not excitable, not losing it, nothing egregious, like just like a quiet but steady presence, right? Like a confident, quiet confidence that he displayed. And this looks to me like, I want to say vintage, but
For the
it's a
last
vintage.
run,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah,
last
from the
run they
last
went
run.
on, this is what we saw from Cayden Primeau. Like,
Yeah.
it is a vintage of some kind, but maybe
Yes.
not the one we're used to when we hear that word.
A patented, how about that? A patented Cayden Primeau.
Nope,
That's what I
there's no
saw.
patent pending. It's patented.
That's what I saw from him in tonight's game, and I think that was the thing, was that he was holding it until the Canadiens were able to actually put the Rocket were
The
actually able
baby
to
Canadian.
put the baby Canadians were actually able to put pucks in the net, because it was for a time it was tense, because I think we all know that the Rocket are capable of putting the Americans away. Like I don't think that that's in doubt. I think the doubt was starting to creep in when they just weren't scoring. And we thought, is this going to be a thing where the Canadiens, again, the Rocket, like not shoot themselves in the foot, but the bounces just don't go their way.
Yeah, that definitely could have happened, and that's what it sort of was starting to feel like at the beginning of the third period when Rushik scored for the Rochester Americans, and it just sort of felt like, oh man, like they're
It was so
going
over.
to, yeah, it felt like, okay, well now they're just going to score another one, and or we're gonna go to overtime and no one's going to get any sleep tonight. But the you got to give the Rocket credit, and it started with a rookie. It started with Florian Xhekaj just deciding, you're not stopping me, putting his shoulder down, going to the net, and beating Devin Levi with a backhander that goes just under the crossbar. I mean, I every time I see Florian Xhekaj do something cool, I feel like I need to do some kind of penance towards how we treated Nick Bobroff. Every time he does something cool, I'm like, he might be right about this guy.
We
And if he's right
questioned it.
about yes, we all questioned it. Everybody did, because it felt like they were just picking the guy because his name, he's an overager. You're only picking him because his brother's here and you guys love his brother, which you should. He's a very lovable guy. But like,
It
now
felt
that we're
like a
seeing
reach.
it, yeah, it felt like a reach. It felt like a guy maybe you could have gotten as a free agent, just signed him to or invite him to training camp afterwards. But like, now I'm glad the Canadiens took that pick. It's a fourth rounder on an overager, and he had 20 goals as a rookie in the American Hockey League. He's centering the fourth line. I love this guy's game, and I think he's going to play NHL games. Like,
Yeah.
finding that in the fourth round at all is a victory. If he comes with the kind of not so much promise, but if he hits in the way the Canadiens expect him to, that's a massive play for them to get him at with fourth round value. It's crazy.
And I think the thing that I think is the key is, you keep calling him a rookie, but I feel like Florian Xhekaj has been part of the Laval Rocket for like the last 5 years.
Yeah,
The way
since
that
they were in
he's
St. John's.
Yeah, the way that like the importance he has for this team, the way he's kind of become one of the focal points, one of the stars of this team. Um, and I say that, obviously there's a lot of the fan favorite factor in it as well, like his brother as well. But he's become such a linchpin of this team. And I think it's incredible. You saw it tonight, right? Like, he turned everything around. And we are going to talk about offense in just a couple of minutes as well. But there's just something about Florian that makes me happy about hockey,
Yeah.
right?
No, he's like a prototypical hockey player. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Do you have a player of the game? Someone that stood out as number
Um,
one?
Honestly, for me, like, it is Reinbacher. Not to be a cop out. I thought he played really well. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things we didn't love on some of the players in
Yeah.
the second segment, but I thought he really, as you said, he generated a lot of offense just by going to the net. But he looked so good. I think just overall,
Yeah,
he looked so
he
good.
he was going to be my guy too. I thought he was dialed. It's tough to take it away from Cayden Primeau, who made 32 of 33 saves, but I just thought Reinbacher was creating so much for these guys, and it's nice to see that he missed most of the season and has just stepped in and is their number one right shot defenseman.
Yeah.
It's kind of incredible. Like, just the whole story here is wild.
It's such a good time to be a Montreal Canadiens fan. It really is. The future is so bright. We keep saying it, but the future is right now. We're watching it. And thanks to the Laval Rocket, we have more of it. At least one more game, at the very least, right?
Yeah.
So we will actually. It's two because the Rochester Americans would need to. Yeah. Anyways. Yep. All right. One game with the possibility of being two. How about that? In our next segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about the offense. Every line scored, and a couple of things that we didn't super love. But it's going to be overshadowed by the excitement we have about the forwards, and that's coming up in just 1 minute here on Locked On Canadiens. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Same with the NHL. Whether it is a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. And FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game, before tip-off or puck drop, and also live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Personally, I like to add to the suspense by adding those same game parlays. And a $200 bonus in bets if your first $5 bet hits can help keep it going and bring you closer than ever to the NBA playoffs action. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, we talked about it just before we started the segment. All the lines scored for Laval.
Yeah.
And some much maligned players also scored for Laval. That too. We had to eat our words towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I thought early on the bottom six was carrying this team. The third line obviously scored on their first shift. They were forechecking really well. I mean, there was one play, I forget what poor Rochester American was behind the net, but he got sandwiched by Kandata and Tuck at the same time. Just like really funny slap shot-esque sort of physical comedy.
And those two together, it was incredible. It was just so in your face.
Yeah, that line was great. I thought Beck and Xhekaj had excellent games as well. And the first two lines, the Dauphin line and the Kapanen line, they kind of took a while to get going. I thought Kapanen struggled in this one. I thought Gignac started to put it on as they went. I thought Joshua Walsh struggled for a little bit until he found the back of the net. Hopefully that sparks him. But generally speaking, the thing about this game that I think bugged me the most from Laval's perspective for most of the game was their very lax play with the puck in their defensive zone. You know, it felt like they thought they had way more time than they actually did with the puck, and they just kept turning the puck over. Rochester's forecheck was on them the whole night. That was making me nervous because one of the things I thought during the game was, you know, Rochester must feel really comfortable dumping and chasing, knowing full well that Laval's probably going to give them the puck back, which is not a good sign. So it's something for them to clean up as the series goes on. One question I have for you, and he's a player, you know, we talked about trading him potentially, and, you know, listeners got upset about that concept. Logan Mailloux, how do you think he looked in this game?
I think there were a few times where I just thought he was caught not napping, but just turned around.
Yeah. I noticed that a bunch as well, especially defending the rush.
Yeah.
He gets beat to the outside a lot, which is concerning because he is a good skater. You know, he's not, you know, a slouch. Especially with the puck in the offensive zone, he's a pretty smooth skater. But defending the rush, I find that Rochester is exploiting him to the outside, and I don't know how much longer that's going to be able to happen without them, you know, hemorrhaging offense to a certain degree. But I thought he was fine. You know, there was a couple penalties, but generally speaking, those were the things I saw from him. And again, we talk about the offense. Mailloux is a big part of the offense, and that just wasn't really there for him in this one, unfortunately.
I don't even know if it was like if it was just not there. It was just overshadowed by the other stuff. Like in my mind, and again, I kept watching, looking for certain things, right? Like now that we're watching these players more closely in these big moments, we're looking for certain things from Owen Beck. We're looking for a lot from Joshua Roy. We're looking for a lot from Logan Mailloux, and we admittedly so. You know, this guy was drafted in 2021. He was, you know, the ceiling that our listeners keep getting upset about, you know, trading him would be a mistake because of the ceiling. He's got to get close to that. It's 2025 at this point, and he's not even in the NHL yet. So I think, you know, for players like Joshua Roy, for players like Logan Mailloux, for players that are close like Owen Beck, for players like Florian Xhekaj that we hope make the NHL, for players like David Reinbacher, who we've all but penciled into the lineup next year, we look for certain things, and we look for pluses and we look for minuses. And I feel like with Logan Mailloux, I just defensively, I'm just not seeing what I want to see, right? Offensively, the skating, the hands, I'm seeing all of that. But we knew that from day one. What I want to see more from is defensively, and I'm not always seeing that. And especially not in these playoffs, I haven't loved it.
Yeah, you know, he took a roughing penalty in defense of his goaltender. I'll take that every day of the week.
Yes.
You know, especially he took a guy with him. I have no issues with that.
Yeah.
The one I have an issue with is the cross check that came afterwards. And it's, you know, people said, you know, the Rochester player went down kind of easy. It is a cross check, but the problem with that for me was not so much the penalty, it was the play that caused it. He gets beat down low, and because he gets beat, the only thing he thinks to do is throw a cross check. Like, he doesn't have his man covered adequately, and that's why that play develops. And then after that, the play is still going, and Mailloux looked right at the referee and saw that the penalty was coming and just kind of stopped playing. Didn't love that. Didn't love the body language. Didn't love how he just kind of like fully stopped on a play. Like, you have to play to the whistle because, you know, Rochester took the puck out from behind the net and they could have gone to the front of the net. So look, I know I don't want to harp on this kid, you know, but the fact of the matter is they need him to take a step. They need him to be ready for, you know, an NHL role soon. I don't know if that's as soon as next season. It would be nice. He's going into the final year of his entry-level contract. So he's eligible for an extension in July. I doubt the Canadiens offer him an extension now because what kind of player are we getting? We don't even know.
It's a pivotal year for him.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing you mentioned with the play and the cross check and the giving up, that just reeks of immaturity, and that we can't have any more of that on the NHL club, right? Like we saw what pitfalls they fell into due to immaturity early last season. So for me, like all of that, like he needs to not just grow up, but he also needs to be adaptable, right? Like the cross check is the first thing he went to. And that's also something that I'm going to say, by the way, about Florian Xhekaj, the darling, right? Florian Xhekaj takes way too many penalties. There's some of them are well placed and some of them are not, right? But if you want to succeed at the NHL level, you can't just go for that, right? Like you can't just go for the easy way out, which usually results in a penalty. What you have to do is you have to be adaptable, you have to be smart, and you have to learn to play just inside the line as opposed to crossing that line. And I think it's possible. It comes with experience and maturity. I would just like to see it from both of them. Sorry, I cut you off about you were finishing your point about Logan Mailloux.
No. I think that closes that out properly. I you know, with Xhekaj, you're right, and with Mailloux, you know, the penalties are a thing too. It's remember at the beginning of the preseason when we got flamed for you know saying that we needed to see more from Arber Xhekaj in preseason, and people were like, "Oh, he's doing whatever he can." Blah.
You hate Arber Xhekaj.
No, yeah, exactly. The thing was he was getting kicked out of games, and we didn't get to see him play.
Yeah,
right?
That's what we wanted. We wanted to see him play.
Yeah, when Logan Mailloux is in the box, we're not seeing him play. When when Florian Xhekaj is in the box, we're not seeing him play. And we saw from Florian Xhekaj tonight that when he does play, he's really good, right? He's a 20-goal scorer in his rookie season in the AHL. I just think that, you know, that he's going to learn to become a pest in the NHL and do the, you know, learn the Florida Panther way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of just knowing exactly what you can get away with and exactly what you can't. The Mailloux penalty, what came to mind for me was cross checks that go uncalled all the time, especially in the playoffs. They're not going to let that one go because he got beat and because he immediately gave up any kind of positional advantage he had and just threw it at the last second. If that's just on the boards and they were battling the whole time and he throws a cross check like that, I don't know if they call it. But because he loses that battle and he gives up that positional advantage, they're going to call that every time.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to say though, you know who Florian Xhekaj reminds me of? If Maxim Lapierre was more talented and taller.
What a pull. Yes, 1,000%. That's an
I
incredible
remembered
pull.
a dude.
Yes, thank
Florian
you.
Xhekaj reminded me of a dude. But yes, if Maxime Lapierre were like, I'm pretty sure Florian Xhekaj is a bit taller than him. If I remember correctly,
Yeah.
Lapierre wasn't very tall. And you know, he was a yapper, but he was a huge pest. Like if only he had hands, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one goal he scored against Washington in the playoffs?
Yes.
Where he like drove the net and he put like his head in his hands because he couldn't even believe that he did it. Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah. So yeah, and nothing against Maxime Lapierre. I mean, you know, Florian Xhekaj is just better than him in my mind. Is all. I think it's really funny. All right. Here's what we're gonna do next. This is, I think, by popular demand. It's a 2C or not 2C suggestion that has come up from very many of our listeners, and we are going to talk about whether the Montreal Canadiens should go after Nazem Kadri, and that's coming up next. Ian, before we get into it, we do have a listener contest going. You cannot stop giving away your Habs things. You cannot stop giving away all of your stuff. And so what are you giving away this time?
Well, once we hit 4,500 subscribers on YouTube, we are giving away this Josh Anderson signed photograph of him in the Stanley Cup final. Once
handsome.
we hit 40, we're giving it away to a YouTube subscriber. So you have to subscribe and put contest entry down in the comments. One entry enters you for both of these, because the second one is once we hit 5,000 subscribers, we're giving away this signed photo of Florian Xhekaj's brother. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. Xhekaj, he plays for the Canadiens. Yeah, we're giving these away once we hit those subscriber milestones on YouTube. So subscribe, put contest entry, tell your friends to subscribe so that we can hit that number faster and do this giveaway proper.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Ian, if I tell you the words Nazem Kadri, what do you think of?
Habs fan. Because he grew up a Canadiens fan.
Very true. My turn.
Go ahead.
Stanley Cup winner.
Yes, also true. Also true. I think this is an interesting one because I love this player. I love who this player turned out to be. I love the chip that this guy plays with just every time he touches the ice. And as I was doing this, I came to the unfortunate conclusion that I just don't know that this makes sense for the Calgary Flames at all. So let's roll through it. Nazem Kadri is 6 foot even, 185 pounds. I figure it's helpful to put that into perspective. That's about the same height and 5 pounds lighter than Jake Evans. So essentially, Jake Evans' size is what you're getting in Nazem Kadri. Left shot centerman. He'll be 35 in October. Last season, 67 points, 35 goals, and 32 assists. That was the Flames' leading scorer at 67 points. 46% at the faceoff dot, 21 power play points. He's under 50% in faceoffs in each of his last 4 seasons. Laura, how many games has Nazem Kadri played?
In his NHL career?
In his NHL career, I could not believe the number I'm about to say.
Is it like 1,000 or something? Is it crazy?
He's 15 short of 1,000. He's going to hit 1,000 games this year.
That is incredible.
We're dust, Laura. Like, the time is not nice to us.
No, it is not.
He has 4 years left at $7 million per year. That'll end when he's 38. And he has a full no move clause, so that is something to take into consideration. The Flames are currently $5 million over the floor, so they are flush with cap space. Like they could do whatever they want. Trading Kadri without any money coming back puts them under the floor, though, which is probably not where they want to be. Laura, what is it about this player that you love?
There's there's Leafs Kadri, and then there's after the Leafs Kadri, right? So I feel like Leafs Kadri was getting lost a lot in a lot of the headshots and the debates about whether he was dirty or not and all of that, right? So sure. I think he was kind of lumped in with a subset of player that's more goon than an NHLer, right? And he just kind of got lumped in there. And I think the true value that we saw was when he was in Colorado. For me, Nazem Kadri brings an edge. He brings grit, but he also has talent. You don't usually have that. You don't usually get that. Like Nazem Kadri is he's also right. Like he's a player with size.
Mhm.
And he's a player that is not going to get pushed around in the playoffs. If that's something that we're going to, base decisions on about the last playoff run the Canadiens had, like he's not going to get pushed around. Like he's the guy that does the pushing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if we're looking for a second line center, this is our 2C or not 2C, of course. Wouldn't it be nice to have somebody who you think could defend an Ivan Demidov?
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna be able to glue Xhekaj to that player every time he's on the ice,
No,
right?
especially since sometimes you're going to need a guy with actual offensive ability
Right.
to support
And
Demidov.
right, and we've known that, like, Xhekaj is not a deterrent. Like, we know that doesn't actually happen. The Alex Carrier hit where he got blown up by Tom Wilson, that was the game that Xhekaj was in that game. So, like, we know that's not true, but
So we're like 700 linesmen just crowding him there.
yeah, of course. Like, he was on the bench and they all grabbed him. I just look at this from the Flames' perspective. The Flames did not make the playoffs this year. They had 5 more points than Montreal. They had a 96-point season and missed the playoffs. That, like, I think gets lost in this. They have no center depth. They had the 4th fewest goals in the NHL last year. They need to add scoring and not subtract it. Like, the reason why Dustin Wolf is a finalist for the Calder is because they got 96 points and were the 4th worst offense in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
That he did that. Like, that's why he's getting those flowers and he deserves them. But, like, what are the Flames trying to do? Is what I want to know.
They know. I really don't think they know. I think the previous year with the whole thing with Huberdeau not working out, like all of that kind of set them on a path where even when they made that trade, they were making it because Tkachuk wanted to go to Florida. They weren't making that trade because they knew what they were doing. It just seems like there's no plan. I don't think they even know. So if the Canadiens want to get Nazem Kadri, it would absolutely 100% be a massive overpay.
Yeah, I
That's
think
the
so
only way
too.
Calgary would do it.
Yeah, and I don't think that the Flames would want, like, futures. I don't think they would want to try to go backwards. They just had a 96-point season, right? If anything, they should be trying to add to this core. I think I just can't find a way that makes sense, which is a shame because I really think that this player is a perfect fit for what Montreal is trying to do. I have a hard time trying to put myself in the Calgary Flames position and make a move for or that gets rid of Nazem Kadri that makes our team better. You can't sell it. It's not possible.
But on a pure, so like, if you remove that context, is this guy a player that belongs on the Montreal Canadiens?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's the kind of archetype of player they should be looking for. Somebody who played, like, what were the words that Jeff Gorton used? Obviously, they want size. They want compete.
Yeah.
You're going to get compete from Nazem Kadri, right? Like that. He's got that in spades. I wouldn't be worried about, him taking nights off. That's not really in his repertoire. And again, he led the Flames with 67 points. That's like, that's really good second line center numbers.
That's
on a
100%
team.
second line center numbers.
Yeah, like I think that that's a much better fit for him. Again, like Calgary's so confusing. I kind of, they're a team that I think we should be focusing on more, just trying to figure out what they want to do. Are they going to be big players for a guy like Mitch Marner? Are they going to be big players for some other free agent? Are they going to offer sheet somebody because they're going to have all their picks for the next the following year, and they're going to flush with cap space? Like, do they make a dumb, stupid offer sheet that actually works out really nicely for them because they can afford to do it? I don't know.
Bouchard.
That's wild.
How funny would that be? Oh my God. Let's write this fanfic.
That's incredible.
Okay. Follow-up question. I think I might even have said the name. So, like, actually, no. Is there another player in the NHL that reminds you of Nazem Kadri and is not on the Habs? I couldn't find one. I thought about it all day. When I messaged you that we should do this segment, I thought about it all day.
Yeah, he's kind of a one of one. Like, I don't know that there's another guy that fits that mold to me. I'd have to do some more thought on it, but I think he's the only guy that brings the kind of edge that he has there are other players in the league where if you say their name, I could list a player that I find, like the other day I just compared Alex Carrier to Francis Bouillon. Like, like we can do that. But I don't know. I think that he kind of is one of one in that way. And look, maybe he's looking at this. He's going to be 35 in October. Maybe he sees this as like, I only have a couple more cracks left at this. Do I try to do this elsewhere?
Do we have this conversation next year if the Canadiens don't find their solution this offseason, or Kirby Dach isn't it?
Maybe.
Do we have to have the same conversation? I think for me, the biggest thing is there's a lot of players that are like Nazem Kadri minus grit, minus the compete. There are a lot of players like that. And I don't think that that's something the Canadiens are willing to compromise on when they go out and get whoever it is that they get. No. All right, that was our Nazem Kadri by popular demand, 2C or not 2C. Please keep them coming. We got a lot of suggestions for our Raid the X teams. Spoiler, Calgary is on it. We will talk about Calgary for other positions as well. But we really, really appreciate all of the listener suggestions, and keep those 2C or not 2C suggestions coming too. All right, Ian, is it time to do our trivia and get out of here?
It is. Let's go back to yesterday's question. It was our Alex Carrier player review. So this is an Alex Carrier trivia question. Alex Carrier's playoff goal versus Washington was not his first playoff goal. Which team did Carrier get his first playoff goal against? Do you know the answer to this one, Laura?
I only could think of Colorado, but now I don't even remember if they played Colorado in the playoffs while Alex Carrier was there.
I don't know that they did either, but it was Vancouver. It was actually last year, Game 5, first round. It was a game winner in the third period against Archer Seelovs. And the answer was given to us correctly by Gilles Dor and David Waddy. So thank you for answering the question and for getting it right. You guys get a shout out for being super smart hockey fans. All right, today's question. We talked about Laurent Dauphin. He signed his contract. He scored tonight for Laval. He signed a contract extension to stay in Laval. So tonight's question is about Laurent Dauphin. In his draft-eligible season of 2012-2013, he recorded 57 points in 62 games, which was good for fourth on his team in Chicoutimi. Which former Montreal Canadien led Chicoutimi in scoring that season? So which former Montreal Canadien was on the same junior team as Laurent Dauphin and led that team in scoring in 2012-2013? If you have the answer, put it in the comments down below, just like Gilles and David did, and we'll shout you out on the next episode.
You heard Ian. That is the way trivia works. Also, speaking of teams where we have no idea what they are doing, we are going to talk about rating the Vancouver Canucks at some point. But in the meantime, tomorrow we are going to do our Cole Caulfield season review. We figure we'd end the week on a treat for all of you guys. And it's also our mailbag questions. So please, or our mailbag episodes. Please send us mailbag questions to lockedoncanadians@gmail.com. You can also send them to us on Instagram, Locked On Canadians, on TikTok, Locked On Canadians, and on Blue Sky and Locked On Canadians. Reply, DM, whatever, we will find the question and we will answer it in tomorrow's mailbag. As well, please subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. Please tell your friends so we can, get this contest and this draw going. We want to thank all of you for listening. You can find my co-host on social media. Maybe it's Ian. You can find me at The Active Stick. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with our mailbag.